Hello everybody, welcome to the second video of Thursday. This one's a really special video. It's kind of like a passion project, and this is all about Warlock and the thought process around whether or not he's a god tier champion or not. In the last week, we've definitely seen a lot of popularity for the champion of Warlock, which went for 95 mil, which is a very high featured cutoff, and I really thought this champion would go a lot lower than that. But there seems to be a lot of popularity, and it's a personal favourite champion of mine, and I wanted to make this video because there's also a forum post that was put out a little while ago called "Can someone please explain to me why Warlock is god tier?" And this was kind of posted back in November, saying, to be fair, I've barely used his utility properly, but his damage is lackluster, and honestly, I feel like Iron Man Infinity War is better even. His utility seems like a Swiss army that's dull. I'm not hating, you just need someone to tell me how to use him. And there's no disrespect, I think it's always, great to kind of like put out there like why is he good and all that things. And I personally love the champion, and I personally think he's god tier, but I'm going to break down as to why that is the case. But there's definitely criticisms to the champion as to his performance when it comes to damage that I would like, maybe in the future to be looked at. But it's very much a case of looking at Suicide Masteries, non-Suicide Masteries, and the utility that is the absolute god tier that still makes him relevant in any new piece of content. Let's get into this. Warlock is a one-stop shop when it comes to having quadruple immunities, power control, shocks opponents, awake. It has great chip damage, not overly amazing, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but also has heal control options, bleed damage on easy heavy attack rotations, armor break on SP2, small regen per infection, and the infections as well do some helpful things to reduce down offensive ability accuracy. But I do agree right off the bat, if you have the champion as a non-suicides champion, yeah, the damage doesn't pop off quite as much. And you can see right here, we're up to 196 hits, and only got the enemy champion down to 36%. I personally, when I'm running non-suicides, there's a lot of parry and heavies because you get a good tasty amount of crit damage when it comes to that. Even more so when you higher rank a higher signature and even the rarity of the champion, and also throw off SP2s, which is a normal non-suicide kind of rotation that I normally do, unless I'm playing out the champion to, power control or other stuff. The champion is, on the face of it, a great option for various bits of content, and here with non-suicides, a variant 2 option, hell yeah, it's a definite option. Being an XL champion, that's another thing that's kind of like really speaking to the favor of this champion, and does present a particular option. There's good damage, which again, as I said, from non-suicides, but it's not overly there. But still, if you want the option to kind of at least say, here is something that can deal with power, healing, and double immunity, quadruple immunity in this case, then at least you have that as an option. So what happens when you step on the gas and decide to create a little suicide mastery around this champion? Putting all the necessary things in place to get yourself ready for a Suicide Mastery is essential, putting it into Liquid Courage and whatever. But you can really see the ramp up. The difference is like when we have what is 200 odd hits to then get the champion down, Winter Soldier this is in Realm of Legends, down to the kind of the last. Now it's a case it's like going to be like 100 and something hits. Like, it's definitely going to be a lot less, and this is where the champion excels at the better part of the damage. If you do have Suicide Masteries on, you will recoil damage, which means you'll take damage. If you throw an SP3, you get regen, so that's really important. As long as you get your infections up, as long as you do part of the process in order to get the champion to the SP3, get the regen that you need, you can mitigate a lot of that recoil damage that the champion has. And it's great with Suicide Masteries. And this then means that the champion makes light work of things like Variant 3. Being a tech champion, it becomes a solid option to take into the likes of Variant 3 and being as potent as possible, especially with the damage from Suicide Masteries that the champion has. As we said, recoil is the only kind of downside to anything Suicide Masteries related, but definitely it's a champion for all seasons, all older content and all new content as well. At this point I'd be like, right, well, what are the things on a monthly basis this champion does? Well, as long as kabam don't do the stuff that they did this month of December with some of the nodes, if you've got class-based stuff, normally with the tech side of things, this champion is amazing, and that's great about this. Having something you can solidly refer to each and every month to take in cavalier difficulty means that you've got something that does endgame content, monthly content, special content, and it's just basically the champion for all seasons, which if you look at god tier, or we look at tier lists like Cams, which I do rate a lot, the idea of a usable champion is something that makes a champion a god tier champion. The element of being able to do every piece of content, or more commonly, a lot of pieces of content. There's times where I've gone against Mixed Master and just gone parry, heavy, and this champion works. That bleed damage you get is really, really nice at times. Even more so when you do some stuff of Act 6.2. First of all, in Act 6.2.3, there is a fight called Headstrong, and this is the one with the Omega Red at the end. Gotta get my words out. So in this particular fight, you will have something called Icarus. Icarus basically means as you are proactive with hitting of enemies, you will get yourself a lovely little fury buff. Don't go too many of them though, because you will get a little bit of damage, quite serious damage. So you can take Warlock into this and have a very fun rotation. Now for me, in order to make this very easy, 5-hit combo, parry heavy, and that kind of worked out, which you can see on screen right now. With Suicide Masteries, this is seeing like some really nice ticks of damage. Normally the bleeds for Warlock non-suicide is something like, I don't know, 200. With Suicides on, it's like 390 or something. But this way of doing it is very, very efficient because you're able to do the 5-hit combo, get those fury buffs off, do parry heavy, take off the fury buff so you're not getting the degen a little bit further on, and it's just a nice smoother process. I'm sure there'll be people out there that kind of disagree with the process of doing the rotation, but I always like to feel safe and not sorry when it comes to like doing a 5-hit combo, parry heavy, get rid of those fury buffs, and everything is right with the world. The same thing can be said for everybody's favourite interaction, and that is Act 6.2.2, Mr. Sinister. In this particular fight, you've got Caustic Temper. You need a poison immune champion, and you need a champion that at the same time has a fury buff. Now, the same process for this doesn't have to be what I personally use, which is having the Ultron synergy. Every time with Warlock, if you get hit by something you're immune to, you get a fury buff. Great help for this. But also you can have the same type of effect if you've got Heimdall. Yes, you will need it 5-star and upwards, but still, having a permanent fury buff or having a fury buff on can be helpful. But it's just the thing, this fight is just a lot of fun. If you are suppressing the healing of Mr. Sinister, you're getting that fury buff up every time that you're being hit by a poison debuff, which you are going to be in this fight. It just means that it's kind of slow and steady wins the race and just very fun. Now just quickly, I wanted to make a slight nod to his signature ability, which is good. It's extra damage, but the more that I've kind of... First of all, I was quite a big advocate for Awakening Warlock because of the extent of degen. Now, I still believe to a degree in that. I just don't think now that it's as super relevant because it's not something that overly pops off on damage when it comes to degen, but it is very nice. So the Awaken ability allows you to get a little bit extra pop of damage. Kind of helpful, especially if you don't run Suicide Masteries, because it's more of a case of going, okay, well, every time with a 6-star rank 3, I can do 1101 direct damage every 2 seconds every time I power drain or power burn. And this may be handy if you rotate around the SP1 or SP3, because let's face it, at times you might want to do that. Within the abilities as well, if you do a well-timed block against something that is a non-basic attack, you're able to kind of not reflect, but you're able to do some direct damage via degen to the enemy. And that's okay, but it's like, it's not, unless you are SP1 rotating and SP3 rotating, it's not overly potent, or not overly kind of like interesting for players, to be quite honest. When you got a 565 version, it's 862 direct damage, and it's just down to personal preference. I liked it for a time, especially because it just helped out with kind of adding a little bit more every time I was power draining. And if you are playing into the utility factors of this champion, then yes, you're getting a little bit extra, but it's not a champion that needs to be awakened to be good, which I think is absolutely amazing. That's another thing that kind of helps towards this kind of like, is it a god tier? How is it a god tier? It's a god tier because it doesn't need to be awakened to be good. It has amazing immunities and interactions. It seems to be a timeless champion that anytime kabam release any of their scuffed weird nodes that you need to read a whole manual in order to understand, at least to say you have something that ticks a lot of boxes with immunities, interaction with certain elements, and reversing or suppressing healing, which is vitally important, as well as a slight power control champion option, and so much more. So I think that's really it. Like, this is like a utility god, which then puts it into being a god tier. It's just if you want that god tier damage, and that's the only restriction or issues, then you need to have yourself a little bit of a Suicide Mastery in order to pop off this champion on damage. But yeah, this has been a little video looking at Warlock and kind of explaining how he's a god tier champion. I thought with the forum thread recently, and as well the recent arena, I wanted to like make a little video on him. So I hope you enjoyed this and videos like this, and these are the kind of videos I want to make more in 2022. One of my ambitions. So the best thing to do is start with 2021 and see how things go in 2022. Thank you very much everybody for watching this video. Make sure to check out some other content located on screen right now, and I'll see you maybe in a live stream later on. Cheers everybody, bye bye for now.